What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode number 95 of the RUDIS Wrestling Podcast, brought to you always by us. Matt, as you can see right behind me up there, it is nighttime here. I'm in Singapore. It's 9 p.m. What's up? You're on Monday morning, correct?
Yeah, so we're literally half a world or a world away. I'm at 9 a.m. You're at 9 p.m. So how's that going? Like, I mean, we were just talking a second ago, flying over, fighting over in Asian Singapore. This kind of old hat for you, but it's still, you haven't been over there for a while. I mean, you went for
that little press trip, which was it was only a day. No, it's good. I get over here early so I can. You know what? Getting acclimated is no big deal if you come over here early and you don't really have a schedule. Like, the jet lag only sucks if you actually have a lot of stuff you have to do. So I obviously set it up so I can come early. I don't have anything I have to do. So if I feel tired, I just go to sleep. No big deal, you know. And then I just slowly adjust my schedule, and then I'm good to go. So the last 2 days, I've literally had nothing to do. I just had to get one workout in. I've been reading a lot. I got 5 books over here that I finished reading, so crushing that. And now I'm ready to talk about some wrestling because, you know, Matt, we had some wrestle-offs this weekend. I know Mizzou did their wrestle-offs. I seen Ohio State had brackets out for their wrestle-offs. I mean, we are getting really, really, really close to wrestling season, which I'm very excited about.
I mean, for all intents and purposes, wrestling season's here. To your point, I mean, lineups are being, determined, not finalized, but at least set for the beginning of the season. Yeah, we're only 2 weeks out, really.
Yeah. So let's see. Is it less than that? Because it was the first day is November 1st. So I think Wisconsin wrestles on, if I believe, November 1st. It's the one in San Diego. I'm blanking. We talked about this, but yeah. So we're getting close, Matt. I'm excited.
Battle on the Midway or whatever.
Battle on the Midway.
Battle on the Midway. Yes. Is that what it is?
Yeah. Yes. You know what's so funny, Matt, is, the FRL guys have brought this up before, but how wrestling people love alliteration in their titles. And so I just saw 2 announced that made me laugh. The one was the Dan Gable Donnybrook, and the other one was the Stockyard Stampede, which is alongside the U.S. Open. But why does wrestling have to alliterate? Listen, it could be all sports. I'm obviously not as in tune with all sports as I am with wrestling, but wrestling people love to use their alliteration skills.
I think it's all sports. If you really dug into it, I'm sure that's the most convenient thing. You attach 2 words together that kind of flow together to give it momentum, some hype, or sounding like it's an exciting thing, right?
The Dan Gable Donnybrook.
The Donnybrook. I haven't heard that term for a while.
That's an old one. That's the guys from Takedown Wrestling Radio used to always say Donnybrook. I'm gonna have to get an official definition
what's
for you.
What's the actual official definition of a Donnybrook?
Okay, hold on. Why do they call? Let's see. Donnybrook Fair was a fair that was held in Donnybrook, Dublin. It has given its name to an Irish jig and upscale suit. What are they talking about? Oh, it's slang for a brawl or a riot. That's what we're looking for right there. So I guess they're gonna have a riot in Iowa City.
Well, the Donnybrook, I guess that's, maybe they could use the old Donnybrook if Conor McGregor ever decides to fight again, or if he's not in jail.
Conor McGregor, he could do his own promotion, the Donnybrook in Dublin.
Yeah.
I actually was just reading that, literally as you called in, I was reading. McGregor's been implicated in a second sexual assault thing, though. So, man, it ain't looking so pretty for him. Not so good.
He's in his own Donnybrook. He's in his own Donnybrook right now.
That's no joke. That's for sure. He's got a tough one ahead of him. Okay, let's get in. We got 4 weight classes to do. I know it's gonna take us a while. So 49, 41, 33, 25, and then just to preview, we also have the weight class scoring stuff done. I looked at that. That was good. So we'll probably do that next week. And then I'm gonna hop on with Tamara Mensa for our second podcast of the week. Looking forward to talking with her. I've been texting back and forth. Kind of did my research on Tamara. Hey, are there any questions that you think that I should ask her that maybe you don't think I'm thinking of?
I'll have to think about it and text you.
Well, I couldn't find any. Yeah. Go ahead.
We're going to have a fun conversation. She's just got a really awesome personality. I think people have caught glimpses of it before and after matches. I mean, she's a very gracious, very just bubbly, just fun person. And it's like, and then once you see her step on the mat, she's a hammer. So should be a fun conversation for you guys.
Yeah, I couldn't find any extensive biographies, but I looked back through old wrestling results and everything else, and then I scrolled through her Instagram and social media. I couldn't find any other hobbies. I think she loves her dog. She's got a new dog, and it seems like she's really social. Like her and the other girls at the training center really spend a lot of time together. But I couldn't find any real hobbies outside of that. So
for sure,
we'll see how it goes.
It'll be interesting once you get into it, like to see her progression, because she had a good college career. I mean, she's one of those people that everybody talked about her potential and her talent, and it's been interesting to see, like in the past 3 years, and it kind of coincides with her moving to the Olympic Training Center, how all these things, her abilities, her mentality, how everything started to come together over the last 3 years, and it's interesting, even though she won a college national title. She's been around on the national team, but really how she's emerged and elevated, here in her mid-20s. And
yeah, I mean, that was one thing I noticed, Matt. She didn't have a lot of national wins earlier in her career. A lot of seconds, a lot of thirds, some fourths. I believe she only had one national type win early, and then, to your point, I think she won 16, 17, 18, 19. Now she's won in America. So, I think she's 24. She would have been 24 in 2016. So, yeah, I mean, started having more success later. And then even then, 2016, she was the Olympic rep for the America, but she didn't qualify the weight class. 2017, I believe she took ninth at the World Championships, and then last year, third, and then now first. So, I mean, yeah, that progression from not qualifying the Olympic weight to ninth to third to first, I mean, that's a huge amount of progression in the last 4 years, and you generally don't see that in the mid-20s. So I'm going to ask her about that.
And you generally don't see that even on the men's side. Typically, I think we've talked about this a little bit.
Yeah.
Typically, if you make a team, within that first 3 years, you've kind of established yourself on what you're probably going to do on the international stage. Most of the guys that we've seen win multiple medals, they jump into the mix right away. You don't see these guys that just gradually progress up through the rankings on the international stage. Most of our guys, and most of our women even, they seem to make an immediate high impact right away in their first 2 or 3 years. And then once they establish themselves in that position, you see this replication of results, pretty consistently.
Yeah, I agree totally. Okay, let's get into these rankings. I know we always think we have like a lot of time, and then we never have enough time. So 149 pounds, Matt. What?
No, I mean, I was going to jump in ahead of it. I mean, I think this is where we really see the effect, and we were just talking off air just a second ago about this is specifically when we're looking at 149. This is where you're really seeing the effect of what the Olympic red shirts are going to do in the college landscape this year.
Yeah, so Matt Kolodnik's redshirting, but then you also have Yanni and Ironman redshirting, they were 141 pounders, but they both talked about the possibility that they'll move up to 149. So, if you had those three guys, this weight class I feel like a completely different weight class. So it is depleted. It's not like doesn't have the superstars that it's had the last few years. But there's a couple of freshmen here that I think can really establish themselves. And then, quite a few seniors who have been either close to All-American or low All-American. And, now they can maybe push through to the next level. Brock Zackrell, Pat Lugo, Boo Llewellyn, Max Thompson, Jared Prince, Mike D'Angelo, a lot of those guys, Cole Martin that could, really have their breakout year this year, which, but yeah, I mean, to what you were saying, a little not as deep, or we're not going to view it this one as deep as we have in the past couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, if you really just look at the overall landscape at 149, 1 through 25 of the rankings that we're looking at, this is probably the first truly wide open. I think there's been some open weight classes that we discussed, but there's probably one or two or three favorites that kind of we looked and said they've separated themselves. Really, if you look at 49, take your pick. I think you've got, of the top 10 guys, legitimately there could be an argument how each one of these 10 guys possibly could win a national title this year, potentially.
Yeah. I agree. Even I'll go down to Brayton Lee at number 11. It's kind of funny. I know Sasso had the Great Midlands last year, but when you see what Brayton Lee did to Sammy Sasso at the UWW Juniors Trials Finals, it's kind of funny to see him ranked so far down the list when Sasso's so high. But yeah, if Sasso or Brayton Lee win this weight class this year, I'm not all that surprised. You got Brock Mahler, who's a true sophomore, and he's ranked number 2 right now. So yeah, I think we could have a lot of fun at this weight class. Also, Connor Evans ranked number 1, really good. But I'm not all that familiar with a handful of these guys, Matt. So I almost feel like I shouldn't go out and make huge statements before I watch this weight class pan out for a few weeks.
I would actually say in some instances, I actually think the freshmen, I think Sasso and Brayton Lee actually have an advantage here because there's no scar tissue on the bone, right? In the sense they're open, they're heading into this with just open belief. I can win this. They haven't been punched in the mouth. They haven't had to overcome the adversities and the battles. Like a lot of these guys, specifically, I look at a guy like Brock Zackrell, who was a highly touted guy. He's had some issues. He's had some injuries. He's coming from, a mid to lower major program where he's trying to overcome a lot of variables that some of these other guys haven't had to overcome. Where these freshmen, they're coming in with complete optimism, complete confidence. And if these guys get on a roll, if they start establishing momentum, I could definitely see a guy like Sasso or Brayton Lee just run through to get it and win the entire thing, just because they don't have to overcome like Zackrell. He's a senior. He's got the talent. He's been ranked. He's been in the mix. He's been in the All-American round. And there's a lot of pressure going into your last year, never stepping on that podium and knowing I've got 4 months to put it all together and then it's over, right?
Yeah. Hey, Matt, what's the deal with Keyshawn Hayes? Is he wrestling off? I didn't see him on the wrestle off list for Ohio State, but I did hear rumors that he was going 49 to wrestle off Sasso. What's the word there? You got any insider information?
I don't really have any inside scoop. I heard it's a similar situation of 49 last year when we had Hayes and Micah down at 49 in the winner. It was kind of understood the winner was going to go up. So I think I've heard similar things that they're going to wrestle off here and the winner would go up. But, what I am hearing is that I think Sasso is kind of the guy. But you got to give the guy, like a guy, senior, Keyshawn Hayes, the opportunity to challenge, which is probably at his most natural weight. He's probably one of those guys, honestly, from what I've heard, probably one of those guys. He's probably a tweener in between 41 and 49. I think if he actually absolutely sucked it up, I think, could he make 41? Yeah, but could he make it and function at a high level throughout the entire season? I think that's probably a bit of a stretch. I think 49 is a pretty natural weight class. 57, I think it seemed like a general resistance or acceptance to really being at 57 last year. I personally, we talked about it a little bit, it just looked like he never believed like he was a 57, even though the reality was it doesn't matter. 57 is your weight class. You got to wrap your mind around it and throw yourself into it. It just appeared, and again, maybe that's just kind of his general demeanor, but it just seemed from his body language and his facial expressions and his body language on the mat last year in certain situations, like, yeah, this guy is kind of showing it. Like, he doesn't really believe he's a 57 pounder.
I feel the same way.
It'll be, so similar to last year from what I'm hearing.
So we're gonna have to wait and see on that. Okay, so let's go picks here. I'll go Sammy Sasso over Brock Muller. I'll do something crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go Sasso versus, geez, I don't even know.
Go Brock Zackel. You're a Clarion guy.
I'll go, yeah. Yeah, I coach at Clarion. I'd love to see him do it. I'd love Keith Ferrero. And the thing is, Brock's got the talent. It's a matter of just, can he put it all together?
And stay healthy.
Can he stay healthy? Can he navigate the emotional landscape of knowing that he's got the potential to be on the podium, but actually punching it through? Maybe I could see this scenario, him winning in the quarterfinals just opens up, the floodgates. The pressure's off. He wins in the the quarterfinals. He knows he's an All-American. He's got that monkey off his back, and he runs all the way to the finals. So I can see a Sasso-Zackrell finals there.
Boom. Okay, I like it. All right, let's go to 141. Another weight class we're talking about. We have guys missing. We don't know where Ironman and Yanni would be, but they are not in this weight class anymore. Obviously, we had some graduations too. I think it's just been announced that Luke Pletcher is moving up. So our top handful: Demas, Lee, Pletcher, McKee. Leith is obviously down from 149, where he was All-American 2 years ago. He got hurt last year. Coming back, he's like a seventh year already, and he's only in his junior year somehow. All kinds of injury red shirts. Kyle Stroop, Chad Red, Tariq Wilson, Max Mueller, Caden Gefeller, Tristan Moran. So I actually think, maybe not the standouts, but pretty deep weight class. I can even go past. We have Michael Carr's down there, former All-American Syrian Perez down there, Ian Parker's down there, real good freshman Real Woods, all the way down to 18. So this weight class to me is really deep. I'm curious to see how Demas does as a front runner. And we talked about this in our last episode, how it's not necessarily the skills differ, but the way people perceive you. So Demas, being the number one ranked guy, he has a very unique style. But this means everybody, all of the best minds in wrestling, will be watching him. They'll be studying him. They'll be shooting for him. They will wrestle him very much more conservatively. So will he be able to be as dynamic as he has been in the past few years? I think it's interesting to see what happens there.
No, and I think this comes into, that term that people throw out in all of sports is that sophomore slump. And it's one, we talked about it last week. It's one, everybody preparing specifically for your skill set, but two, understanding how at a young age you have to evolve your skill set as well. And I think there's equal parts there. We talked last week. One, the better preparation is going to be coming, but a lot of these guys from a maturity standpoint is like, hey, they couldn't stop my stuff before. How are they going to stop it this year? And so we'll see if Demas, he is dynamic, man. He's one of the
I will agree with you there, but part of me says, Matt, a lot of his stuff comes off overhook, underhook, chest to chest type positions. And for me, if I'm coaching, I'll tell you where I wrestled. I wrestled Quentin Wright, Matt. That was the guy you coached. And for me, as an intelligent wrestler, it's like so easy. I'm just gonna do, like, you guys can't see me. I'm just gonna do this. You are not gonna get an underhook on me, bro. I'm gonna lock down your wrist. I'm gonna climb up. I'm not gonna give you an underhook. So for me, if you're wrestling smart people, well scouted people, being reliant on underhook, overhook, chest to chest position, that's one of the toughest positions to be reliant on, because for me, it's easy for people to stay out of those type positions.
Yeah, and
is that fair, or am I off on that?
No, I think it's completely fair. And at the lower weight, specifically at 41, you got a lot of guys that like to wrestle from space as well. So if I'm a guy that likes to wrestle from space, I'm never making contact. If anything, if he's going to dig an underhook, I'm probably taking a shot and forcing the wrestling action down to the mat, as opposed to if he's starting to dig 2-on-1s or underhooks up, I'm going to take the wrestling action down to the mat to get out of his power positions, or I'm going to try and wrestle him from space.
Yeah, actually, now I go back and look at these rankings. There are quite a few people who liked wrestling from Pletcher wrestle underhook, overhook. Mitch McKee obviously will. Grant Leith likes using an underhook. Tristan Moran likes using underhook. So there are actually quite a few underhook, overhook type guys in this, which maybe that's why Demas is so successful. He kind of put it on Nick Lee. The score was closer than the match actually was. Now, we talk about the greatest minds in wrestling. Obviously, Kale has to be in that conversation. Do you think that, that's something that Nick Lee can do, is just change the way the match went from last year and have some type of shutdown strategy? Think Kale can get him to do that or not?
I think so, but I think the question all last year with Lee was he seems like a very similar version of the year before. We didn't really see much growth or evolution out of his wrestling. So I think that's the question there. Did he max out his skill set? Has he maximized his ability, or does he have another level to grow? I think we're going to probably find that out here in the first couple months of the season. Is there a new dimension to Nick Lee? Is there new layers, new wrinkles in his arsenal? Because, he's got all those. Obviously, he's proven he's been on the podium a couple times. He's kind of, I think, where a lot of Penn State people are kind of spoiled is like, what do you mean he's a junior and he hasn't been in the finals yet? I mean, they've gotten so spoiled from freshmen and sophomores making to the finals, winning national titles in their first 2 years, that they're looking at this guy's like, oh, he's been fifth and sixth of his first 2 years. Like, what's wrong with this guy? It's like, he's been fantastic his first 2 years, but can he break through and challenge the elite? Now the elite, are kind of with Yanni and Ironman are kind of.
I'm with you, Matt. I'm with you with what you're saying about, Penn State has seen a lot of these guys develop, and Nick Lee hasn't necessarily had that same level of development that other guys at Penn State have, where they jump from that good high school wrestler to, national champ type guy. This could be the year for him, obviously. Maybe not. He still took some not so great losses last year. And I'm just not sold yet that Nick Lee's going to make that jump. Why did Luke Pletcher seem like all offseason he was going 133? And then to me, 133 kind of cleared out because you had Suriano's going to redshirt, Fix is going to redshirt, and then he decides to bump up. That was like a, whoa, what happened here type of thing. You got the inside scoop there or no?
Just a little bit. Again, it's just a few conversations. He just seems he's filled out a little bit more, which might sound funny to people because he's got a pretty filled out body frame. He's pretty short and compact, but he's added a little bit more weight from what I've heard. He just feels more comfortable at 41, maintaining that throughout the season. And
because I feel like Ohio State had better. I feel like Ohio State had better options at 41 than they did at 33 to put another guy in the lineup.
Yeah, I think so. And actually, it should be interesting because some of these guys that we looked at as contributors to the team performance, now this year, these guys, the two guys we're just talking about, Nick Lee and Luke Pletcher, now their teams this year are reliant on them to be. You have to look at Lee and Pletcher like, hey, if Penn State and Iowa or Penn State and Ohio State's really going to position themselves to make a run at the end of the year, now these two guys, they've been contributors in the last couple of years for their teams. Now they've got to be some of their premier performers here this year. I mean, if you got to look at Penn State and Ohio State, if they're probably Penn State to win a team title, Ohio State more likely in a trophy hunt this year. Yeah. You need these guys. I mean, if Penn State's going to have a chance to win, you got to think Nick Lee's got to be in the finals or better be up there, top four for sure. They probably need the finals.
They need the finals and some bonus on the way there, I think. That would be my opinion of the situation. So, yeah, I think you're right. Hey, two more guys. What do you think about these two guys? Well, I'm going to give you three more guys. I'm going to ask your feelings on. Kyle Shoup from Lock Haven, great top wrestler, obviously. Chad Red, who had a really terrible last year but came on at the end, and then Tariq Wilson, who was great 2 years ago at the NCAA tournament, didn't have such a great last year, and now is bumping up weight class. Well, how do you feel about those three guys?
No, I think they're all fascinating. I mean, with Shoop, I mean, he led the country in tech balls last year, right? He's a complete monster. He gets your wrist, you're in big trouble. Okay, so if you can't get your rest, he's in trouble, right? So it's an interesting dynamic about where he needs to, can I get the rest or can I avoid the rest? I mean, that's kind of comes down to it. And so you gotta think what Scott Moore's been doing with Kyle this year is like, what can we do? How do we increase your opportunities to get on top, right? Whatever that is.
I'd be looking for reversals, brother man. We had a coach at Missouri named Pat McNamara, who was, by his own admission, obviously I did not watch him in college, terrible on his feet, but he could get reversals like a son of a gun, and then was really an animal on top. And so he said, man, straight up, he was three-time All-American. That was his strategy, was to get reversals. So if I'm Kyle Shoop and I'm struggling my feet, I'm going to look for some reversals all day long.
Yeah, so he's a fascinating. Yeah, it'll be fascinating to see his develop. Obviously, Chad Red, even though it took a long while. I mean, it took until March basically for him to completely find his stride last year, but he found his way back on the podium. I believe he's unbelievably talented. I'm a big fan of his. He was a guy that I kept believing in all last year. I think the case in point is, has he figured out, speaking back to that sophomore slump, same with Tariq Wilson, right? They seemingly had uneven performances. Tariq kind of didn't find his way back to the podium last year. Chad was able to figure it out near the end of the year. Hopefully both of these guys, they figured something out in the last month of last season that they can carry into this season and gain some momentum. I would love to see a Chad Red, what he does with momentum on his side, because as a freshman, he's a super talented guy, and he was able to find his way on the podium. Last year, he had to navigate the landscape of what you said, a lot of guys preparing for him, knowing what to expect. I'd love to see, Chad Red. I think Chad Red gets momentum established early on this year. I think he's a title threat.
Oh.
Tariq Wilson I think Tariq Wilson, it'll be interesting. I think he had a distinct advantage at 33, being 6 foot tall at 133. That might be an exaggeration, but he's a pretty.
Oh, he's tall.
Dude.
He could be close to 6 feet. Okay, cool. We went deep on that weight class, Matt. We went deep on that weight class.
I wanted to get your take on Wilson, though. Do you think his length will translate to 41 the same way it did at 33?
I'll tell you what. I'm not too much on body types. I think if you know how to wrestle, you know how to wrestle, and that can kind of obviously, if you're long, use your length. If you're short, use your stubbiness. If you got one leg, wrestle like Anthony Robles, right? I mean, any body type can be successful anywhere. I mean, for him, I think it's the exact thing we're talking about with Dom Demas, with other guys, is that he didn't have a great freshman year, but he came on really strong at the end. But people really scouted him, and he wasn't successful last year. So now it's can you make it? Here's the thing: is what it is. It's you have some things you do really well, and people kind of shut them down. So can you figure out a few more unique ways to get back to what you do really well? And if you can do that, you're going to have a huge amount of success. You're going to get back in the driver's seat. And if you can't do that, you're going to be pissed that you're not as good still as you were as a freshman, and now you're a junior, and you're gonna go downhill really, really fast. So I think that's kind of the battle for those type of guys.
The one other one in this weight class, and then we can come off it, is I'm really interested to see how Kyle does down at 41.
Who'd you say?
I think Josh Heil.
Oh, Josh Heil, okay.
From Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
He's down from 49 down to 41. I thought he had a great opportunity to place last year at 41. This is definitely, obviously I talked to Kerry a little bit more than I do some other coaches out there, but I think this has been a weight class where Kerry thought this is where Josh should be the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But, if it's not the kid's choice, you're going to get what you get if you kind of force him Josh, finally realized I had a conversation this summer. It's like, yeah, I've been hearing this for a couple of years, but yes, I understand this is my probably my best weight class. And I think the team that Campbell has coming back this year, I believe they've got 6 qualifiers coming back. So they've got a good team, that could carry a lot of momentum through the season. So he's a guy I think we should look out for at 141. I think he could make another big impact here.
Nice. Okay. I have too many biases in this weight class. I'm not going to pick a finalist because I got relationships with quite a few of these guys. So I'm going to pass on this one. If you want to pass also, that'd be fine. Whatever you want to do. Let's go to 133. 133 is very tough, although it is not nearly as tough as it was last year because we had the Olympic red shirts, which we mentioned. Suriano fixed both of last year's finals Olympic red shirting. Um, Pletcher moved up a weight class. So what we have here, I'll just give you the top handful of ranked guys. You have Seth Gross, Austin DeSanto, RBY, Mickey Philippi, Austin Gomez, Charles Tucker, Taylor Lamont, Montori Bridges, Noah Gonzo, Cam Sakura. So I think it's really top heavy, and I think you have a lot of fun guys up top. And then as you get down a little further, it's crazy because all the way at number 10, Cam Sakura, he was non-ranked in the rankings last year, and then all those guys were non-ranked. So you have a bunch of new guys to the rankings, and it's probably because all those old guys got pushed out. So I guess it starts with Gross here. I mean, not something I was really thinking about, but for all guys talking about, I think Seth Gross has to be one of the favorites for not only to win a national title, but for Hodge contention. Um, Obviously, was really good at bonus points 2 years ago when he wrestled. And when you look at the bonus point guys, a lot of them are gone. We don't have nearly as many as we did the past few years.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to think there is a lot of talent in this weight class, even though there's been an exodus out of this weight class from last year. One of the deepest weight classes we've talked about for a long time at 133 last year. But
last year was ridiculous, Matt. Ridiculous.
It was insane.
Yeah.
But you got to think this is Seth. This is his weight class to lose.
Yeah. And I mean, even when you look at DeSanto, Matt, one of DeSanto's biggest weaknesses has been on bottom, and that's where Seth is just so good. And I'm sorry, he's so good on top, obviously. So that if you look at DeSanto, that's not a good matchup for Austin DeSanto at all.
No, and I mean we saw DeSanto really put a lot of effort in bottom last year. He's definitely improved, but when you're talking about Seth Gross, you're talking about not just good. He's not just good on top, right? I mean, he is phenomenal. I mean, he's arguably, to your point, he probably is the best guy on top in the country this year.
Yeah.
And with
maybe not, but maybe except Kyle Shoup, he's pretty good too.
Yeah, but probably I don't want to insult Kyle Shoup and say he's a one-trick pony. Seth Gross has a lot more than Shoup does, right?
Yeah.
And to your point, I think there's going to be some people will say with Gross like, well, he was injured last year, so that's a natural question. You could probably give us an update about how he's been looking, or maybe you don't want to.
He's great. I'll tell you. I was one day I had a miscommunication with Coach Bono about what time practice was, and I showed up and I was going to run practice and get a workout in. And they were doing something else, and then so I'm like, okay, I'll just lift weights. And then Seth came in, and I'm like, hey, bud, you want to wrestle? and we scrapped, and it was we had I tried not to use my weight. We had a lot of fun. Very, very scrambly. Very good at obviously I could use my size, but I tried to let him work his stuff on top. Very good on top, and yeah, I mean, I was just even just obviously watching, but then rolling around with him, I was really impressed with all the things and all the options he had. And I think he is a huge issue. Obviously, he won a national title, but when you look at this weight class, I say, oh yeah, he could win a Hodge Trophy because DeSanto is not great on bottom. RBY is not great on bottom. Philippi's actually a pretty good mat wrestler. Gomez, not great on bottom. Got turned by John Ernesti last year. So yeah, I mean, it's looking like damn, he could put up a boatload of bonus points this year.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think with Tucker's height,
He's
Seth
got to
Gross
be.
would be licking his. He's got to be licking his chops if he gets on top of that guy too, right?
Oh, Matt, we forgot one Olympic redshirt. I'm sorry. Stevan Micic is also redshirting. So that's the top 3 guys from last year are Olympic redshirting.
Now that's
crazy.
I would love
That's
to
crazy. Has that ever happened, Matt? Number 1, 2, and number 3 from last year are all Olympic redshirting. Wild.
You've got to. You got to wonder. This is what's going to be interesting, Ben. And we've talked about this a little bit in the past, but it'll be interesting after the U.S. Open in December. If some of these guys that are in Olympic red shirt qualify for the final Olympic trials, it'll be interesting if how many people, because I think we'll see how many we see come out of Olympic red shirt and wrestle during the college season.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I feel like, and I would have to think through all the team races and implications, but I would have to think if you're like, okay, this guy's going to Olympic redshirt, then you got your next guy like Michigan. If Stevan Micic is going to Olympic redshirt, you got say Joey Silva cutting down to 140, 133, or you're moving guys around based on the fact that you're not going to have access to that guy. And I feel like that would be such a huge part of what you're doing in your strategy as a team. That after December to pull someone back into the lineup, I don't know.
I mean, with Michigan, with Michigan, they're probably the one program that went all in, right? They're
all in.
Everybody that can possibly take an Olympic year, they're taking an Olympic year.
All of them. Well, except Mason Paris.
Right. I'm thinking though, if there could be that one guy or that one conversation, could this guy be the tipping point between us getting a trophy or us winning or us being outside of the top 4 as opposed to being inside the top 4?
Yeah.
These conversations have to be going on.
Matt, really?
Some of these weight classes.
At 140, okay. At 141, Cornell went all in because Arujau, Max Dean, and Yanni. Michigan's going to do 3 or 4. Obviously, Dayton was the guy last year, so he's out. Maybe you could talk me into Suriano's going to come back. Maybe. I don't know what Rutgers' team looks like or what their backup situation is, but yeah, man, when you're saying that they're going to be out, then I have a hard time seeing them want to come back every year. But yeah, I mean, I'll agree with you that it's definitely a possibility.
I mean, then, my mind immediately leapt to 149 with Matthew Kolodzik. Like,
he should come back.
He should come back. He should come back because next year you could have Ironman and Yanni up at 149. And now he's like, wow, now my hands are really, really full like they were last year. Like for him to win the title last year, he had to get through Ashton and he had to get through Micah, right?
Yeah.
And this year he doesn't seemingly have near the resistance, at the top of that weight class that he had last year, as opposed to next year, he possibly could have 2 legit great performers in Ironman and Yanni up at 149. So yeah, I would say Matthew, especially where their team's at. They've got several other guys that could get on the podium this year as well. Yes. They've got Glory, they've got Brookie. Then you put a national champion there. All of a sudden, that's not just a top 10 team. That's a team that's kind of pushing up towards, a trophy contention in that 4, 5, 6, 7 range. And if they can get one other guy that can sneak up onto the podium, then that's
maybe. Well, obviously next year's gonna be tougher, Matt, because say Michigan's going all in on next year, Cornell's going all in on next year, but maybe Princeton's plans to go all in on next year because Glory's gonna have a few guys clear out, Brookie will have a few guys clear out. And I don't know them. They're liable enough to know if they have any redshirt freshmen or anything coming in to make their team a lot better for next year, right? 2021 NCAAs, maybe. Okay, let's go to. I got Seth Gross over Austin DeSanto.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go Gross RBY.
Gross over RBY.
I really think. Yeah, I think. He's a guy that was teasing us all last year, right? Roman Bravo Young. Early on, we're like, holy crap, this guy is going to make a run at the whole thing. I don't care how deep this weight class is. We were believers at a certain point.
I saw he fooled me.
But
he ain't going to fool me again.
He's fooling me again. I'm going to say it's going to be Gross versus Roman Bravo Young. I think he grows, he evolves, he develops, more consistency. So it's going to be another fun year to watch at 133. No doubt about it.
Nice. Okay. 125, our last weight class, Matt, and we are running out of time, so we got to hurry through this one. Spencer Lee, Jack Bueller, Sebastian Rivera, Nicholas Piccinini, Pat Glory, Rayvon Foley. So kind of all the usual suspects that you had from last year. I think, the storyline is, Spencer Lee lost twice last year to Sebastian Rivera. He lost to Nick Piccinini. Can he have a clean year where he wrestles as good as he did at NCAA the whole time? Or are we going to see him falter a little more during the season again?
I could see him taking a couple losses again this year. But I could also see him run the table and just jump to a completely different level where he just runs everybody and he shows like he's well on his way. He's like, no, I'm gonna win 4. I think if we've seen it in the past, we talked about 4-time finalists last week. I would venture to say the majority of potential four-time champs that got derailed, the majority of those guys got derailed their junior year, correct?
Oh, that would be interesting to I'd have to go do the research, Matt, because all we were looking at was 4-time finalists. So you could potentially be a 3-time champion, or say win your first 2 years and then take a place other than second, right? Which would derail you. Well, I don't think there's anyone who's ever lost it as a 4th year, right? That's never happened.
No,
so obviously
remember that.
You can't lose it as a first year, because if you don't win it your first year, you can't be a 4-timer. So that's everybody. So it would have to be your sophomore or junior year, because we can't remember any seniors that had already won 3. I don't believe that's happened.
Right off the top of my head, in the last couple years, Vincenzo Joseph lost last year as a junior. Right. Isaiah lost as a junior. I'm thinking back. Let me just I'm just going to pull random things.
Greg Jones a junior or sophomore?
Say that again. You were breaking up a little.
Greg Jones and Jake Roshaw, sophomores or juniors?
Jones was a junior, was it?
Jones was a junior.
He won his first 2 and then went 0-2. Lincoln McElravy was his 3rd year.
Was a junior
against Marionette.
Whoa! Yes. Oh man, you're giving some bad juju to Spencer Lee right now.
So I'm just saying, like, if someone's gonna knock him off, maybe this is the most likely year to stop him from winning 4.
You got 2 guys here who beat him, obviously in Rivera and Piccinini. So it's not like he had those losses last year. And those guys are gone. Those guys are still here. I'm high on Patrick Glory. I'm curious to see how much more he's going to develop with his arsenal and his strength and everything else that he needs to be able to go with those top guys. So yeah, this weight class is a lot of fun. Okay, let's go picks because we're out of time. I'm going Spencer Lee over Sebastian Rivera NCAA finals.
And I'm going to go completely off the grid. I'm going to go Rivera versus Piccinini. Somebody beats Spencer Lee in the semifinals.
I don't think that's off the grid. Those guys have both beaten Spencer Lee before, so that's reasonable. Definitely reasonable.
If I really want to put it on the line, I would say Patrick Glory in the NCAA finals, because I think that's a decision.
Whoa. Okay. I could see it. I think all those are reasonable. All right, Matt, that was a fun show. That's it. You and I are not going to talk again this week. I'll be on with Tamara. And then after that, I got to go to Vegas next week for the Lightweight convention. But you and I will find a time to hop on the computer with each other and podcast, because wrestling season is very close.
Cool. Take care of business over there. We'll talk to you next week.
You got it. See ya.